Hey BSP fans, it's Tim here, and you're listening to episode 39 of the Black Swamp Podcast. Like always, thanks for tuning in. We know your schedule is likely booked, and there are like a gazillion podcast options out there, so we appreciate you letting us be part of your day. If you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, then throw us a review and some stars if you listen on Apple Podcasts. That always helps boost our exposure and push our little podcast out to more percussion enthusiasts like yourself. After listening to this episode with Katy Elman, you can also travel back in time and check out some of the past conversations we've had with BSP artists, educators, and friends over the last 2 years. There's a lot of great conversations to sift through. So no major housekeeping for today. I guess I will mention the ensemble winners of our 2021 Percussion Ensemble Showcase. Judging just recently wrapped up. First place went to Prosper High School Percussion Ensemble from Prosper, Texas. The ensemble was directed by Michael Hustis and Shane Snyder, performing Altered Gates by Jim Casella. Second place was awarded to Westlake High School from Austin, Texas, where Tyler Sammons directed this ensemble's performance of Dots and Dashes by Dustin Schulz. Video performances of winning solo and ensemble entries are now featured on our website with a link in this episode's show notes. So this week, I had the pleasure of chatting with Katy Elman, who is a friend of BSP and owner of Southern Percussion in the UK, who is also an official Black Swamp retailer. Katy is a trained musician, having attended music schools from an early age, and ultimately had a really unique opportunity to take over a retail sheet music company in college. We talk about this transition from performing to sales, how Southern Percussion has grown extensively over the last 10 plus years, and some of the connections I at least see between Black Swamp and Southern Percussion. Katy also has a new educational project getting off the ground this summer called the Southern Percussion Institute, which I definitely learn more about in our conversation. So, hi Katy. How are you?
Thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I know this was on my end the most difficult podcast conversation to coordinate. I think we had like 3 different times scheduled and totally my end just having to switch gears and stuff. So I appreciate you being flexible and patient and staying up late to have it's not too late, maybe. I don't know, what is it, 7 o'clock?
Yeah, 7 o'clock. I just get away with putting, without having to put the little one to bed. So that's always good.
Right. Yeah, that's a plus. Sometimes if I'm out, I still use this excuse, even though my girls are older than yours. If I'm out like doing something at night and somebody will be like, "Oh, well, you got to get home to your girls." I'm like, no, it's no hurry. Honestly, so it's okay. They can handle it. So I'm sorry, what's your daughter's name again?
Leah.
How old is she now?
She is 4.
Okay.
Going on 18.
That's how it feels. Yeah, I know. We went on a little weekend getaway, and I looked in the back seat one on the way home, and I said, made a stupid dad joke or whatever. And we have a 9.5-year-old. That's important of a distinction. There's half birthdays now. I don't know if you realize that. You might need to consider that with Leah moving forward once she hears about half birthdays.
Yeah, we're not there yet. So
Okay. All right.
a little longer.
So Zoe, our youngest, is 9.5 now. And I made a stupid wisecrack or dad joke. And I looked back and she just she didn't even roll her eyes. It was just the most disgusted kind of look. Like, what are you talking about, Dad? And so I was like, wow, you just turned like 15 or 16 in the last 5 seconds, Zoe. So I know.
I can't even give you a kiss goodbye at school. You go to give her a kiss, and she goes, "Mom." Like, what? You're 4.
Yeah. This is happening. Yeah, I make sure to I would drop Zoe off in the mornings, and she'd get out of the car, and I would almost yell like, "Love you, Daddy loves you," like all these kids around.
I was gonna say, I'd imagine that would be you, seeing how bad you could go to be like, "Oh, miss you."
Yeah, just to see her turn away as quickly as possible and run off. So, yeah. So again, thanks for talking, taking some time to talk. Really, what I've been eager to have a conversation with you about is a couple things. And one, you being a trained percussionist and musician, and then making the decision to open a retail music's, percussion instrument retail shop in the UK. And I don't know if you see it this way, but I think there are some correlations between Southern Percussion and Black Swan Percussion, just as far as us. And when I say us, like the team at Black Swamp being largely trained percussionists, we're musicians. That's kind of how we got started. And then, Eric gradually making this decision 25 plus years ago to start a instrument manufacturing company, and then me being his first employee, really, and not having any idea what I'm doing like with marketing and sales. I mean, and I didn't start doing that stuff, but it was sort of gradually kind of building into that role. And even the other guys that work here that don't necessarily had a lot of manufacturing experience, but kind of learning as we go. So I don't know. I feel like we kind of are in the same boat that way, where I'm sure I'll find out, but like how much, you sort of knew about business or retail, and like kind of figuring that stuff along as you go, I'm sure you had to do. So I guess before we get into that, can you just give me a little bit about your backstory and like sort of where you did go to school or how you got involved in percussion and that type of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I was over here. I come from a musical family. My mum was a professional musician, and I have 3 older sisters, and every one of them played musical instruments. And I was supposedly the rubbish one that couldn't keep a beat, couldn't do whatever. And
right.
My older sisters was clarinet, the next one was cello, and the next one was violin. And they're like, okay, can we put Katy on that you will be able to cope with?
Right.
I mean, I used to have like recorder, and they used to put like the sellotape around the recorder around the holes.
Yeah.
I played, and all I had to do was play G's, and I didn't have to play it because there was sellotape around it.
Right. You got they gave you the rubber cowbell parts.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
It was pretty much that one.
Yeah.
I think I had like a triangle as well that I could hit every so often. But yeah, so I started on percussion. My parents, first mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But they started on it very quickly. I kind of took to it, and by the time I was, about 8, I was already. I had a place. My sisters were auditioning for Junior Guildhall, and it was like, oh, might as well let Katy go. Go for it too. So I got a place at Junior Guildhall, which then very quickly they said, maybe I should think about music school. So I then went on to the Purcell School. Then made it round to the Wells Cathedral School, another music school, and then finished off at Chetham's in Manchester, so the third music school. So since I was kind of 10, 11, I was at music school. And so from there, it kind of all happened. I then, when I was younger as well, I was lucky enough to have been picked up by the Concordia Foundation when I was 16. They normally only dealt with college students, but it kind of put me in a situation that I was playing these wicked, brilliant concerts surrounded by amazing musicians. And can
you explain what the Concordia Foundation is really quick?
It's kind of like it's unfortunately it's no longer, but it was a foundation by Gillian Humphreys, which is kind of it was all around the world. It was, their motto was building bridges through music, but it was basically did a lot of outreach projects in schools. So a lot of, in Tower Hamlets, some of the poorer places, etc. Then we'd do like workshops in the schools. They had a campaign like the Look Good, Feel Good Cancer Research. We'd do their Christmas concert. So we'd also, some top venues in London we'd get to perform at. So it was a little bit like an agent, but not quite.
Yeah, sure.
But it gave me loads of experience and doing that kind of stuff, which was brilliant. So between that and the other one, and then I went to the Guildhall for studying for college. And it was there where kind of everything changed.
Yeah.
So Southern Percussion was actually, so I've got already going on to business, sorry. But Southern kind of hit in there. So Southern Percussion had been going for about 20-30 years before I took over.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't completely create it.
Right.
It was
that's news to me. So yeah, that's that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's a company that I hadn't worked with before you kind of took over. So yeah, that's super interesting. Who was?
So someone called Ron Armstrong was running it. It was a very small little sheet music company. It didn't do any instruments or anything like that, so which is why you wouldn't have heard of it.
Sure.
And they didn't have a website. They didn't have a database. You literally, like, if you knew about him, you knew about him. If you didn't, you didn't. So literally, I remember going there as a kid because being at the music schools, I'd kind of been put in contact and knew of him. And he was down in Bournemouth, and he, even to this day, he loves his birds and budgies. And you'd go through his garden and you'd birds and birds and birds in here, and you get to the end of the shed and there'd be literally a shed of sheet music. And I'd been getting my music from him. And literally, when I was in my first year of college, he rang me up in something like the 10th of March or something. And he rang me up and he said, I want to stop doing Southern Percussion, and would you be interested in taking it over? And I kind of was like, I mean, I was 18. Luckily I had one of my really close friends here who's quite a bit older than me, and I kind of just went, I don't know, and hung up the phone.
What does that mean? Click.
I didn't really know. And then the person I was with kind of went, oh, what was that about? And I was like, he just asked me if I wanted to. He's like, what did you ask him? How much? Did you ask him this? Did you ask him this? And I was like, no.
Right.
So from there we went on, and he gave me the list of questions to ask. I rang him back. My parents was actually in South Africa celebrating my mum's retirement. Didn't last very long. And then I kind of waited till they were near the end of the holiday, and then I kind of said, hey, why don't I pick you up from the airport, and we drive down to Bournemouth, and have a chat with Southern Percussion. And they're like, okay. So we did that, and we spoke to them, and one of the first questions, when are you looking to sell it? And he kind of said by the end of the tax year. Well, in England that's like the 5th of April.
Oh geez.
So I had like literally about 2 weeks to organize stuff.
Yeah.
I was actually just going off to Ghana to study for a month over there. So I was kind of like, okay, well, we need to keep it running until I get back from Ghana.
Right.
Then my parents then picked me up from the airport. We drove down to Bournemouth again, and we literally picked it up in a small transit van. It was that small.
Oh, all the sheet music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I kind of filled my parents' lounge with piles of sheet music and started a database, and that's how it all started. Yeah.
Interesting. I have about 100 questions already. First, and I know we're already kind of jumping all over, but like first is just school. So you were in some sort of music school since you were 10, is what you said? So how does a more traditional kind of academic like class schedule fit into that, or it doesn't? You were literally like just studying music from then on, or
let's say I didn't really prepare for business. Let's put it that way. So in England, I don't know exactly how it is over in the US, but in England, you have your core subjects. So you have to do your maths, English, science. I don't know what else is. I think that's probably about it. Like your
social studies, things like that. History.
No, you have to do that to like a level, but not really. So like I had to do that till maybe I was about 13, 14, but you don't have to do it all the way through. So I have to say it did kind of, and I was maybe not the best at school, maybe. I did what I needed to do.
Yeah. No, I fully admit that's how I operated in like basically middle school or like junior high and through high school. And then I did okay. Like I had a 3.5 or whatever, like a decent average. And then I got to college and I tried to operate the same way. And it was like, no, you can't do that. So yeah, I was struggling with, yeah, kind of basic gen ed classes in college, and then focusing. I mean, most of my attention went to music and
Yeah, of course.
playing and practicing and stuff like that. But so you didn't have a lot of sort of gen ed from like in your later school years?
No, not really. So you kind of did all the subjects to GCSE, but even with, so that was like when I was about 15 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of do those subjects, but again, different schools. So I didn't ever do like art. I didn't do, dare I say, like things like geography and stuff like that. So don't ask me where anything is in the world because you'll get a good answer.
Do you know where Michigan is?
No, I don't. It's funny. I do because I'm funny enough. I've been there.
Right.
But no, it's kind of, so a couple of things were a bit rough around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
I always like computers in terms of like, I was gonna say, like I was obsessed with like touch typing and things like that and learning programs. I kind of found that quite fun. But in terms of it goes with other things, no, I didn't do anything you didn't have to do. I didn't do. And then it started that when I liked maths, I hated English.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically was maths and music.
Mm.
And then when I was 16, you do A levels. Some people you normally do 4, and some people do 5. But at specialist school, you only had to do 3. So I did the typical music technology.
And
then you can then again at music school you can drop 1 when you get to the year above, and I just did music tech.
Yeah, it's music straight away.
Yeah.
And then so you're kind of you get into college or university, and that's when the Ron approaches you about Southern Percussion, and you freak out, understandably, because that would be a strange, kind of awkward phone call, I think. Then you kind of gather your senses with a friend and pull your folks in and kind of take that step into retail. But I think before you get there, like this is tied to Black Swamp too. I think Eric had some sort of entrepreneurial spirit, or he had some sort of like maybe drive to build or create or to develop something. Like, do you feel that way, or do you now, looking back?
Yeah, you know what, if you spoke to me, and it's funny enough because it's about what we're about to kind of launch actually soon, and this isn't a plug in any shape or form.
Oh no, go ahead. Plug it.
No, it's not a plug. But basically, if you spoke to me ever since I was maybe like 12 and everyone said to you, what should you do when you're older, I literally was like, I want to create my own music academy and teach, but not just the standard like teaching percussion, but do like the music theory and the music that, and have a group of kids here and do ensemble and basically like nurture and create like basically a school with percussion.
Sorry, I gotta stop you. Is Martin like remodeling in the background? What's up there?
I'm so sorry. The coffee, I may have got a drink.
Okay. Oh, it's an espresso machine.
The espresso machine just decided to do like a shutdown. I'm so sorry.
I thought that was like a sawzall or something going on in the background, like he was remodeling. Sorry.
No, sorry. It's the espresso machine. Sorry about
that.
Yeah. So I always wanted to do like some kind of an academy and stuff. So I guess I always had that kind of idea of wanting to create the business.
Yeah.
So I guess it was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But I was not prepared for what came next.
Yeah, no, I think that's how it is. Like seems like there was some kind of drive or like inspiration to do something, and what that something is what was totally unknown at the time. Right. And then obviously it's built, you went from sheet music to instrument sales. Was there, again, I'm making all these kind of connections to Black Swamp, like Eric saw at the time maybe some holes in the market, like a specific tambourine sound, or how a snare drum operated, or a triangle sound, things like that, or just overall construction and materials and things like that. Like, what was their transition to retail sales like? Did you notice like, hey, there's some other retailers out there that aren't doing this, or they're doing it like this, or I like to when I buy instruments, I see this missing? Or was it like, I want to get instruments less expensively for myself, so I'm going to start a retail company?
Funny you should say, you say that. I remember getting for my, I think it must have been then my 21st or something, a whole load of, my parents gave me a certain amount of money to spend on mallets, and I think that like that brand, I went and spent over, I think 500-600 quid on mallets, and then ended up about 3 months later becoming the distributor.
Oh,
You're like, damn it.
Right.
All this stuff at ROP,
Right.
and then it's like but it's the way it goes. It started, this kind of, the instruments came slowly. So at the very beginning, I was very much sheet music. So at the time, this is where it kind of got complicated. The very beginning days, I was actually doing a touring show at the same time as running Southern Percussion. I was in a Rat Pack show and toured with Buddy Greco, nice American legend there, with percussion vibes, timps, everything in the on stage, doing all those kind of jazz stuff.
Right.
And so my days was, when I look back, I don't know how you can tell you only do it in your early 20s, because I do like one night bit down, I'm like dead the next day.
Right.
So at the very beginning, we did just keep a sheet music, and very small at the beginning, because I was so busy. I was gigging 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week, and was getting in at like 3, 4, sometimes going straight into the office in the next day. Sorry,
so were your parents kind of helpful too, since it was in your house and they were maybe part of kind of helping it get off the ground a little bit?
So that's why I kind of laughed the fact that my mum retired.
Right. Yeah.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, my mum was absolutely brilliant at the beginning. I actually also put at the very beginning the company in her name, because obviously being at music college, I didn't quite know how people were going to react, and I was trying to keep it a little bit of a secret. But I think my very first order was typically to someone I was at college with, who then noticed where it had been stamped from, and they went, isn't that where you live? And I was like, seriously? Busted like the first week.
Right.
But
Kids are smart.
Oh, god damn it. But yeah, my mum was absolutely brilliant, kind of manning stuff to start with, and with all that kind of, and even now she kind of comes in and she's like, how is that being packed? And I'm like,
right. She's your worst critic.
Yeah, pretty much. She's the one that will come into a booth that you go, you do messe and you have this big booth there, and she'll be like, what's that kind of doing there? Or do you not want to do this? And my dad comes in and goes, looks really good.
Right. Yeah.
But I always say, if your mum's happy and my mum's kind of like loving, then you know that you've done a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, my parents are super happy. I was lucky enough, my dad's a chartered accountant, so that really helps.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got someone who's there going, you're spending too much, you're doing this. Or he kind of really helped me and was a lot in at the beginning with just making sure that I wasn't doing anything stupid, or making sure I was grounded and do all the calculations and stuff like that was good. So yeah, my mum was there helping wrap up, and my dad was there with me a little bit of numbers.
No, I think that's great, like to have that kind of relationship with your folks, that they're able to kind of help chip in, and then also learn along the way, like, because I don't think your dad's like doing your accounting or books now. I imagine that's you. I
don't know, I still plug in at times, believe me.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, that's something I kind of wanted to get to in a little bit, was just we haven't talked about Martin yet, who, from what I understand, is kind of more the sort of marketing, maybe social media end a little bit, and then you're definitely the kind of business end and shop. But from what I can tell, it's the two of you, right? Like operating Southern Percussion, like, and I guess I'll just jump in now. Like,
so go for it.
Yeah. Like sometimes people ask me, like, how do I prioritize my time? Or I've asked other people on the podcast, like, because you have, you're married, you have a child, you have a company, you have a family, you have, and then it's like you at Southern Percussion shipping orders, running.
It isn't just us here.
Okay. So yeah. But you're still a small company. Like,
okay, completely.
Like how do you kind of prioritize that time, or is it just like full tilt, like in in the morning and then you're done? Like, and you have no idea what just happened over the last 7 or 8 hours.
Okay, you know what? It's been like heavy. So Southern Percussion, it was just kind of, I say just, I've got Goshers here in the office and doing loads of stuff for us, doing kind of a lot of general day-to-day stuff for us.
Sorry, who's that?
Gosha.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You might have seen or heard.
Gosia.
That's the one.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Gasha is her name.
Yeah.
I always think it's Josia or sorry, Gasha.
Next time you ring in, you'll know who you're talking to.
Right.
So in terms of those bits, but obviously it then frees me up to do the other bits. So I'd had so it was kind of me with various different Goshers in the past, etc. for many years. And then I've got to work out now how Leo is, 4 or 5. So maybe about 5-6 years ago, Martin came along.
Right.
And obviously he was working for another company at the time, is how we met. So I knew that he could do the job, etc. like that. And then I said, well, hey, why don't you come and do this with me and work? And it kind of then went from, it was me, I was happy with the size of the company, everything was really good. Everything was like really nice and manageable. And then he was like, let's go for it.
Yeah, totally.
Which was great in some ways, but the last couple of years has been like absolutely crazy how big we've gone, etc. like that. So it has been over time in the last year. It's been pretty hard. But I mean, we've kind of now got to a point that we can settle back a little bit in terms of people we've got here and how everything works. I mean, COVID, strangely enough, has kind of helped in some ways because it then reminds you, like, we had people are very much all of a sudden like they place an order. They used to the Amazon world now that they place an order and they have it the next day or they have it within a few hours or whatever like that. People don't want to wait for things anymore. And so you're so busy and everything's going out and you're trying to do everything. And COVID, certainly over here, it's kind of relaxed people a little bit. People are a lot more understanding and are happy to wait. And I mean, the schools and things were shut for 7, 8 months. I'm trying to think. I know we chatted throughout the time and the joys of homeschooling.
Yeah, right.
So homeschooling, Leah's only at preschool, but with trying to run Southern Percussion this past year with a 4-year-old has certainly been an interesting concept.
Right.
When a phone rings, you can't kind of say be quiet. She's like, who's on the phone? Mommy. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was really nice that we got to spend the time with her, but you also then realize how much you kind of missed out a little bit on the previous years.
Yeah, for sure.
And that you need to make time for that. So the last kind of year and certainly now we kind of find a little bit more life work balance and just kind of letting it calm a little bit. We're to a point now that we're kind of, without telling with it, we're fairly known in the industry for doing things, and it's kind of just happy and now ticking along. And but for right present second, where it might not be the best thing for you to hear, but I'm happy where we are, and I'm happy for the next year or so for things to be totting along without going right. We need to push and keep going. Everyone always wants that and wants to move forward, but it also gives us a chance to kind of look at other things. I mean, I'm now that Southern Percussion is kind of starting, Gosh is coming in, she's doing some more things and we'll take over bits of it, and we're actually starting a music academy here, which was what my thing was always as a kid.
Yeah, for sure. No, everything you're saying I totally relate to, because I mean, I won't give you the full history of like Black Swamp during the pandemic or COVID, but I think it's definitely put some things in perspective. And I talked to my wife about this, just like, like sort of relaxing a little bit or making some priorities and with family and work, and realizing that, maybe things should have been a little bit different, beforehand. And like, for instance, I'm in a position now where I can work from home, and probably, I mean, kind of during the summer, it's 2 days a week. And I think that's partially because my girls are home and
Yeah.
I have an opportunity to, see them at breakfast time or have lunch with them. I didn't today, but I could if I wanted to. Like the option is there.
Yeah.
So, or just to not have to race to work and then race home, and like it's definitely more flexible. And fortunately, like I said, I have my role at Black Swamp allows me to do that. Like
Yeah.
Jamel or the other the guys in production don't have that sort of luxury, I guess. Like somebody's got to make stuff there. So I definitely keep that in mind too when I'm like, okay, yeah, 1 or 2 days a week I'm able to work from home, but I like to be in the office to talk to them and to catch up and do things like that. But I think it's definitely connected to the pandemic and being like, do I have 40 plus hours of work to do, what, and how am I prioritizing that, and to do what's at home or to do what's at work and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely a mind shift for a lot of people. Decision making was the next thing. Like you spoke about starting a music academy. Like how, like a new project like that, like how does that sort of take shape? Like you mentioned Martin being like, go, 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 go. Like, is he kind of like pushing you to do that? Because that's the Jamel at Black Swamp. Jamel is definitely like, hey, let's do this and let's do this, and kind of propelling us forward sometimes. And he and I are sort of yin and yang, which I think is good. And sounds like maybe that's how you and Martin are. Like, how does that decision making start to take shape? Or what do you kind of, when you think about expanding, what, I don't know, is it just kind of a stick to what sort of thing, or is it diversify?
I think I mean, Martin, as far as it goes with the academy, is actually not his. I was going to say he's completely separate. He's been building drums, as you know, and doing marching drums, and that's like his baby, and that's what he kind of always would have loved to do and wanted to do. So he's very happy. He's got his drums, so we kind of come together on the Southern Percussion. Yet he has his extra little thing that he does with the Southern Percussion marching, SB marching, which is going really well, and and all good there. We at here, I'm kind of doing it, and as much as I love speaking to the customers and doing all that, but my aim was never particularly just to sit behind a desk and pick and pack orders when no one else is here, or etc. like that. And I always had my teaching over here, but I'm like, actually now is the time really to start doing it. And I also feel very much that, without this sounding really cheesy, but I want to give back, and I want to give, I'm in the situation now that we can do this. So it's Southern Percussion Institute is the the big title around it. But with this, we should be able to do outreach stuff in the local area and go back to doing like in schools, in care homes, in all those kind of things. We already run like an international tuned percussion competition, which then is again for under 18s to be able to encourage, and we get kids together and do stuff. And I guess it's going on that respect. And because Southern Percussion is big enough now and kind of not running itself, because nothing ever runs itself. People who says that is
right.
I don't know what they talk about.
It doesn't run itself.
Said nothing ever runs itself.
Right.
But we've got people that things are working and manageable. That for me, really, I want to be able to do some more teaching and do the outreach stuff that we're doing, and that's where I kind of really have the love to go back to that. So by having Southern Percussion now, it gives me that platform to be able to do that.
Yeah. So no, I totally agree. I've spoken to several of our artists and educators and friends on the podcast that a lot of their projects are kind of developed out of wanting to give back to the community, give back to the people that supported them, or help kind of propel the industry forward. And I think that's that's why I try to engage a lot of our artists and educators on video content or educational resources and things like that, and to be able to present that either on our website or social media or whatever. Like, it's, to me, it's like part of, it's not just buying a tambourine, it's kind of like buying a tambourine plus. like
Yeah.
like you get, there's reason to buy it. It's sort of an educational aspect, and then helping to sort of improve and move forward the community. So I think it's totally valid and exciting. Like, so I know you mentioned a competition, like what else? I mean, you don't have to spill the tea totally if you don't want to, but like, I mean, what other, I mean, it's an academy, so, or I guess you mentioned it's an institute, but there's some instruction involved in playing.
Yeah, so you've got the different stuff. There'll be an in-house academy. This is all things that will come kind of later on. The main thing, obviously, to start with, there'll be teaching and stuff here, but the idea is just to give, if people aren't here locally, they should be able to find good teachers and recommended teachers. And there's some amazing teachers in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
There's some not so great teachers in the UK.
Yeah.
And some of the things that you see and you hear and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that I'm the ruler of percussion teachers or anything like that, but I just want to make sure that people can get access to decent teachers, really, and to be able to help do that. And also platform, which we have done kind of over the Southern Percussion, which is, the ambassadors and the artists. And
right.
It's been interesting, even with you guys, that there's some such amazing young players out there that need to be shown, and it's so hard being seen in today's world. There's so many YouTubes and everything, and everything is so hard. And by the platform, and again, it will be switched over from Southern Percussion to the Institute, because then it will be a bigger platform. Sure. It's like players that we feel that should really be seen by the world. Hopefully we'll be able to help them on their career a little bit like Concordia was for me, and be able to kind of point them in the direction. So Black Swamp or IP or Bolter or Encore, whatever brand you want to go for, will then hopefully be able to see them, and then kind of will go, hey, check this player out, and then it kind of will maybe give them something and possibilities for the future.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really cool idea. And you mentioned different manufacturers, and that was something I had kind of a note written down, like for earlier in the conversation, like when you did transition to kind of retail, and obviously this is all part of what's growing and building now. Like, it seemed like you started some intentional relationships with manufacturers and players. Like, was that also kind of part of a plan with Southern Percussion, and now the Institute kind of being specific with relationships you were building and people you were working with?
I don't think I really did anything calculated.
Okay.
I want to say that, like, yes, like my sound scheme as if it was the long game all along.
Right.
I'd love to say that, but probably not. I mean, I was in a situation, because from being a player, I had contacts. So in the percussion industry, even just from being at music schools and music colleges. So like how it also, I say, when I first got the company, is I literally picked up the phone and rang the head of percussion from Cheatham's and the head of percussion at Guildhall and all these different places I've been to. And I was like, hey, guess what? You can now buy your sheet music from me. Your sheet music from me.
Yeah, right.
Was kind of the conversation that we had. And then it went on to sticks and mallets. And literally it was a question of being like, hey, remember me, your student?
Right.
Come here. So I kind of used that kind of thing. But on top of that, so I knew a lot of players. I was already gigging. I was already in there. So that, of course, helped with picking the players and things like that. And then from there, like when the brands and stuff came along, I kind of had, in business, I kind of had two mottos. Like, one was, if I wouldn't play it, I'm not going to sell it.
Sure.
So therefore, if a brand could offer me the best profit margins in the world, but if I think it's not very good, trying to not be rude on air,
it's a family show. It's fine.
If it's like, if I don't like the product and I could not happily recommend that item to someone, I'm not going to sell it because it's more headache for me to start with, and B, I want people to be able to trust me. And I kind of, again, have always brought up that if people have got this amount of money to spend, it doesn't make any difference if I earn a massive amount or a small amount or anything like that. Someone will come to me and I'll say, right, okay, these are the pros of this instrument, these are the pros of this instrument, this one, this one, this one. And then I help them decide. And it makes no odds on margins. It makes no odds on maybe what I would prefer or not. Obviously, I have like favorites and stuff like that, which I personally prefer. But I kind of did it in that way. Every sticks that come in, every tambourine that comes in, every triangle that comes in, I would have played it. I would have gone. It's literally, I still comes to the day. And it's nice having Gosha here because, again, everyone who Gosha is also graduated from Trinity Music Conservatoire as well. She's also a player. Martin's obviously a player. And when we have a box of stuff comes in, she's still like, oh,
geeks out. Yeah.
And so the two of us still do go on that, you know, and we're also bad because we were joking about it saying we need to do some stuff on Facebook, but there'll still be something that comes in and we'll be like, oh, look at that. Doesn't that look really nice? Let's order it. Yeah. Just to try it. Just to try it to see if it's cool and whether it's nice. And, you know, it comes in like, oh, look.
Right.
So we still a little bit like kids in a sweet shop when stuff comes in and trying it all. And so we like to be able to do that so I can know hand on heart that I really am giving the best advice I can possibly give to someone. And it's not business minded, but it's rightly or wrongly. I don't go, yeah, hey, you want this because I've got one in stock. It's irrelevant. It's obviously we do have pretty much most things in stock, but in terms of like, it is what's best for them.
Yeah, no, that's kind of been part of our story, I think, at Black Swamp, like, and why we've developed a lot of the products that we have, because we don't always just want to, you know, we want to sell people what they need, not necessarily what we want them to have, like, if that makes sense. Like,
and it's what they want as well.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, when we have conversations with people, either on the phone or at conventions or even in our marketing, like, we want to educate people and we want to, you know, sort of explain the differences between our products, because I know we have a ton of different tambourines. We've got all different types of triangles and snare drums and different models and sounds, and so we try to explain that and educate people as much as possible so they can decide, you know, what's best for them. And when I do talk to people, it's like, you know, sometimes I'm asking them more questions than they're asking me, because it's like, really, what are you looking for? And, you know, we want to be able to provide that and not necessarily just, you know, sell them whatever we think they need. So are you still playing?
You know what, I still do odd little bits. Obviously it's weird because this last year, of course, no one's played, so it's bits kind of think, oh, when was my last gig? But of course no one's had a gig for a long time. Sure. I still get asked to do a couple of stuff. My main thing is marimba. So I'm like, probably the last thing I did was a marimba concerto, but like an orchestra, which I just came in and did. I kind of was like, oh, I need to get my hands sorted, and I did it, and then died for about a month afterwards. But no, the last real gigs that, again, you do the odd orchestral stuff, but the last like proper solo playing that I used to do was when I was about 7 months pregnant. But I kind of had to stop because my I was playing like vibes and bowing some stuff, and I ended up with a massive rosin mark across my belly.
Oh, dude.
Like touching the vibes.
Right.
So I literally was like, and it is time to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, between the dedication and stuff to really be on top of your game, there's so many amazing players out there who are just like, you know, where I was when I was a kid, I was, you know, wherever, and then I was like, wait, you're doing that now, and when I was there it was amazing, and now you're like way past what I was. So I'm kind of like I was like, you know what, I kind of leave it to them a little bit with the odd bits that I still do and get asked to do, but I can't keep my chops up to that level anymore.
Oh yeah, that's actually what I wrote down, if you're still keeping your chops up or not. But I sometimes I just I just get depressed sometimes, like go scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, or seeing kids in high school like I can, going to PASIC or
Yeah.
Midwest or TME. We went to TMEA last year or 2 years ago, I forget. And just seeing kids playing far more complicated and musical, musically than I ever did at that age. It's just kind of like, okay, I'll stick to this. But I was, no, it was similar. I mean, I was gigging out of college, playing a lot of steel drum stuff, playing pickup orchestra stuff, other percussion stuff. And then as I became more involved in Black Swamp, and then obviously married and start to have a family, it's just things kind of filter out, I think. But and I'll say this to people sometimes, like that's one of my favorite parts of working with artists and educators. I sort of live vicariously through them, like the event, the cool stuff that they're doing and where they're playing and everything. It's, I don't know, I find it exciting and inspiring, to be honest. And that was actually kind of one of my next questions, and I like to ask all the guests, like what what or who is inspiring you, whether in music or not in music, something you're reading, watching, or I don't know, anything. Like what kind of inspires you or keeps you motivated?
God, that's a hard question. I'm like, wow, stumped. I think you're supposed to give me these answers.
I know. I know I didn't. I know I was thinking of that earlier. I was like, I never really sent her any like sort of outline or context for this. So I appreciate you thinking on your feet and kind of coming in blind.
Do you know what? Like, I was gonna say, whether it's a cheesy question, I'm probably not gonna say like individual people on what they're doing. It's more the fact that like seeing them, just generally the younger generation and what they've all got through. Doing the competition we did an online one this year. We should have done it last year. We cancelled it during COVID, and then we did the international competition this year. And we actually start with the competition. We have it's normally under 14s, under 16s, under 18s. But this year we also opened it up to under 26. And the entries that came in and the level of playing was unbelievable. But it's not only that, it was so we did this competition. We then had the judges who were amazing enough to give their time and listen to 150 video entries, which some of them were like 12 minutes long. I mean, they were proper videos, 12-15 minutes long.
Right.
They sat and they commented on them all, and we actually then sent these comments over to the all the players, and the responses that we had from them was just so amazing, and just saying that like this has given us something to work on and to go through, and what people, and then it starts, you end up then in an email conversation. I was gonna say it was so amazing but so like crazy, because you're sending all these emails to these different people, then everyone's you come back and you start a conversation. I'm going, okay, here goes my next like week.
Right.
But it was so amazing to see, and what it does with them and what they do and how they're all getting through everything. And it's kind of seeing them and what's coming up, and watching the younger ones go through. And that, I was going to say, it half makes me feel really old, but when we started when I started this and seeing kids that was, we had people in the shop a couple of days ago that was here, and they've just completing college. I met them and started doing stuff with them when they were like 12, 13, and seeing them grow and stretch, and what they now were compared to what they were back how many years ago.
Yeah, sure.
And I kind of say, I don't want to necessarily say a player and all of that, but watching that just makes me feel so good, and seeing that what we've helped on there, or still when they come in and they'll be like, hey, ask them a question about this, or what do you think this, or joking, or I can still help them with the little bits, or what do you think about this or that. And that is kind of what's so been keeping me going for all this time, all these years. And it's the same thing, like even with you guys, we could have closed during COVID. I mean, me and Martin actually moved in here to the premises.
Right.
Because otherwise we wouldn't have been allowed to keep the company open, because all non-essential retail had to shop unless we were running it and living here and we weren't traveling. So we stayed here for the first kind of 6 months of the lockdown.
Yeah.
And again, speaking to people, and I think the government handouts or things like that we could have done, we probably would have been better off at times closing. But then speaking to people and being there for them in this time and watching them, all of that is kind of what inspires me just to keep going every day.
No, I think that's perfect and great.
Sorry.
No, it's not, because we run a percussion ensemble showcase, and it's just, we wrapped up the solo divisions a couple weeks ago, and judging is getting completed for the ensemble divisions. And I got an email this morning from a band director that was like, hey, my program's just getting started, and this is a great opportunity for us. Like, thank you for hosting this competition and making this available. And it's like, okay, just one comment about like something that we do, that, because it can get, that's why I like going to like PASIC or conventions too, because you meet people that are using your product or seeing it for the first time and are like, hey, I saw that video that you put out, or I noticed this, or this is really cool. And it's like, okay, just a couple comments can like turn everything around for you. And like, because we definitely get in these circles of like, who's watching our videos? Like, who's doing this? Like, really, is this
to me on a podcast?
Right? Yeah, is it worth it? Like, and yeah, it is, and that's what kind of keeps us motivated and keeps us going. So yeah, I couldn't agree more, Katy. So
yeah, but I got a question without naming anyone.
No, I think it's cool. All right, well, that's kind of the bulk of what I had on my agenda that I didn't share with you. So is there,
did I pass?
Yeah, for sure, flying colors. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to kind of throw out there, or anything else you've been thinking about you wanted to share? Or the Percussion Institute is probably the big thing that's kind of up there for new and exciting for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been where a lot of companies, during COVID has kind of gone quiet in doing stuff. I mean, we certainly haven't. I mean, we're actually about to launch, so you don't even know this yet, about to with the new academy and stuff and everything else going on, we've got a new website launching probably in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, great.
And we're changing our logo.
Oh, that's a big step. Like, yeah, that's
massive.
Yeah. I mean, because it's obviously it's the main identification, like brand identity sort of thing.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, we've done it several times over the years, but yeah, cool.
It's pretty scary. It's probably something that like one of the first things that maybe me and Martin didn't quite agree with. So we'll have to see who won, whether it was a good idea.
Right.
But no, it's nice. I just wanted to come fresh. It was the same logo that we had for when I took the company over, and we're such a different company now. And I also feel that me as a company is so different. I mean, I look back to how I first started, and you say like when I was at the beginning of doing stuff, I knew nothing. And when we got our first brand that we started doing stuff, I got a phone call. I heard that the brand was looking to find a new company in the UK, and I was like, okay, let's send an email to say, that we're interested in doing it. And my dad helped me write an email, very, very formal email.
Right.
And they kind of sent a response back saying, okay, we're looking for someone. We've got meetings tomorrow morning in London at like 10 o'clock. Well, the email came in at maybe 11 o'clock at night. And it was 10 o'clock the next morning. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I went there and I was like, so I don't know anything about like really business. I don't really know this, but I know your product. I was like, I can tell you this, and this. I don't really like this. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? But this is like so wicked. Why can't you do this? And I kind of went in with this, and we won the selling of the product, and we won it all and was doing that. But I guess it was the enthusiasm and all that kind of stuff that you can learn. I'm not saying to go into business and not have any business minded, but you can learn all that stuff. And I think it's like the passion and the wanting to be able to do something, you can make it reality. And the cheesy lines and stuff, like you can be anything that you want to be.
Right.
There's no way I could be a singer because I can't sing to save my life, but it's a thought. But something like this, you know, if you wanted to do it and you have an idea of stuff that you could, you know, you can just go for it. And
Yeah, no, I sometimes I'll go talk to like I'll do university presentations. I mean, it's been virtual the last year or so, or but you know, before that, several years I would travel and do school tours and things, and you know, most of it is product oriented, you know, just playing through our drums and playing through tambourines and having kids come up and play, and we all make fun of them, stuff like that. uh but obviously, like, kind of more business oriented questions come up, and I totally have to explain, like, yeah, I don't have a business degree, I don't have a marketing degree. um you know, Eric doesn't, Jamel doesn't, Nathan, who does our like social media and helps with like branding, marketing, and things like that, doesn't. So we're learning this all as we go along. And I look at other companies, other manufacturers, or other, you know, retailers, and kind of see what they're doing and how that might fit into what we're doing, and then constantly make ourselves better. And I think uh, I guess I consider myself a little lucky that I got introduced to Black Swamp Percussion very early on, basically the ground floor, and was have been able to build a career and with the company. But at the same time, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. Like, uh, I think I was talking to MB Gordy. Not that it matters, but about like luck and and building, kind of making your own luck in a sense. Like, was known for working hard in school, and I, you know, except for at chemistry and world history things when I was in college. But I was, you know, my professor basically recommended me to Eric as somebody that was trustworthy and worked hard and was dedicated and was likable. And so I kind of was able to get in that way. So I kind of put in the effort and the time beforehand, which helped when I got there. And I think, kind of as we've been talking, I kind of hear that, like, you've made connections with players. You went into a meeting with manufacturers and was like, I don't know the first thing about business, but I know everything about your product and I know how to sell it. And
yeah.
so, like, and that obviously it worked. So no, I think you're doing awesome things, and you're doing a
Aw,
great job doing a great job at everything. So congratulations on
thank you.
getting here, and then where the next couple years will be is exciting.
Yeah, I hope so. It hopefully it'll all good, and hopefully the new logo and everything won't kind of plummet us down to
No, I don't think the see one thing yes, the logo is a big deal. I'm kind of, this was another question. I wasn't sure if you're actually working on it or if you work with somebody, or if Martin is
Mhm.
working on it. But we're kind of have something in the works that requires a new logo on our end, like not a new Black Swamp logo, but sort of a like a complementary logo,
Yeah.
basically. And so I'm, you know, every so often kind of opening up, you know, InDesign or Photoshop or whatever, Illustrator, whatever I'm doing, and tweak something or do something. My wife's a graphic designer, so I run a ton
Now
of
you
stuff.
tell me.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, if it's not too late, well, she's got a full-time job. So before I might have, she freelanced for years, and yes, I would have maybe thrown her name out there in the if I had known. But so, you know, I know enough to be dangerous to kind of work on that stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing, Nathan and I, basically what I'm getting at is like, yeah, the logo's kind of a big deal, but
Mhm.
Nathan and I have been like, we overthink things too much. Like, we just sort of um like kind of put a lot of pressure on ourselves to like produce and have it be like you know, 100% right out of the gate, which I think is important. But I think this goes along a little bit with the new kind of COVID era, and like
Mhm.
people kind of giving themselves grace, and like not putting so much pressure on themselves. But um I don't know, give yourself some grace, Katie. Like like, I think it's going to be great, whatever it is. And it's not
I
gonna,
like,
your business
yeah,
isn't gonna implode or anything. So
exactly. You know what? I like it. I think it's quite cool. The fact is that like people are gonna know us. They're not gonna stop to go, you know what? I don't like their logo, so I'm never gonna order them again.
yes,
It's one of those
exactly.
things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it'll be good.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for the hour. And you have, hopefully Leah's in bed now and you don't have to worry about that. You can just switch over from coffee to wine or whatever you need to do
I
tonight.
get some dinner.
You haven't had dinner yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Then go
You?
eat.
No. Are you on lunch?
I don't know. I usually skip lunch or I just have snacks or something. It's weird. I don't know why. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the time and all the best.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
This has been a BSP production, recorded and produced out of the Black Swamp Percussion facilities in Zeeland, Michigan. Audio and production assistance by Nathan Coles. Intro and outro music by Adam Hopper. Music sprinkled throughout the episode featured original compositions and performances by Anthony Bartolo from his EP titled Whimsical by Nature. Visit the show notes for this episode to find links to some of his music. Thanks for listening.